Sometimes it's just not convenient to take a big amp to a show, and there are many different pedal-based solutions to replacing a guitar amp.
There's big, all-digital expensive ones.
There are also tiny, teeny budget ones.
And then there's things like this, the Freeway from Thermion. The Freeway is a completely analog preamp with digital stereo reverb and more connections than you could probably ever need. It could also be one of the most dip switch-filled, daunting, nerdy preamps I've ever seen. If you want to go ampless to a PA, this can do it. If you want to go preamp to the effects return of your amplifier, this can do it. If you want to practice silently, this can do it. If you want an audio interface to record with, the Freeway can do it. But before I plug it in, let me just tell you quickly about the giveaway that I'm doing. I'm close to 100,000 subscribers. In fact, I've gained 5,000 subscribers in under a week due to a video that I released last week. Anyway, when I reach 100,000 subscribers, I'm giving away 10 prizes thanks to the brands that support this channel. And I'm going to reveal what those prizes are at the end of this video. I'll also tell you how to enter the competition. So, without further ado, let's plug in this Freeway and hear those beautiful cleans and succulent reverbs. That is beautiful to play. It's super dynamic, and that reverb is big and believable. And that's one of my favorite things about the Freeway is the believability of the reverbs. They're high quality. There's nothing here that I think, oh, that sounds like it's been recorded in a bathroom or something. It really is gorgeous to play. And if you're looking for clean tones, the Freeway is definitely a good choice. But I want to see how this crunch channel does. Let's plug in an SG and do some crunch. Right, the crunch sound. I'm glad it's there, firstly, let's start with that, but it's not my most favorite crunch tone ever. I see the Freeway more as a pedal platform for cleans and a additional preamp in. So I would prefer to use my own crunchy preamp, which I will do in this video. But back to the Freeway crunch, it's a little bit two-dimensional, and I found it was really dark. So as you can see here, I've pushed the treble almost all the way up, and I'm in the bright mode. My goodness. Yeah, so that's it. But it's so dark, I think if I stick this on the neck pickup and max the gain, we might get fuzz. Yes, that is it. That is a sound I enjoy. That is small amp turned up far too loud and farting about. That is one of my favorite fuzz tones, and the Freeway is nailing it. It's believable, it's 3D, it's big, it's reacting to my playing. It's fun. And I was disappointed with the crunch, so that's really cool that it does that. That's a sound that I enjoy. We'll deal with crunch later. But what I want to do now is try that same sound in dropped C tuning, because I think that is going to be some swampy sound. Again, nails it. So that's that more crunch area. The thing that it was lacking for me in that rock it's doing swampy, garagey, whatever that is, in dropped C. Let's bring in an external pedal. Let's do maximum gain. So I've done maximum gain, it's fuzzy. We'll do high gain with the Rev G3. Right, that is one of the best high gain tones I've ever had. I am truly shocked. I love the Rev G3. I've never had it sound like that. I hope it sounds like that on the video because it's sounding really good. It's sounding really good through the FR12. Okay, and you're getting it in stereo. As long, I hope, you're listening through quality speakers or quality headphones. You're not listening on your smartphone, are you? Of course not. I should have pointed out that I'm using the ISP Decimator 2 noise gate in the effects loop of the Freeway for that last sound sample, because without it, it sounds like this. So that's using the switchable effects loop and a noise gate. Now let's sort out that rocky crunch tone by getting what I think is a great rock preamp. Right, I've gone with this, the HRM version 2, the Hot Rubber Monkey 2 from J-Rocket. And I've got it in the preamp send and return of the Freeway, so I can switch between the two preamps with that button. So here's the Freeway. Here's the HRM V2. Yeah, that confirms it for me that if you want crunchy rock tones, you're going to need an external preamp. And it's also brought to mind one thing that I think is missing from the Freeway, and that would be some kind of presence knob. So I have all the top end and the mid-range turned up on the HRM V2, and I've got it bright on the bright channel on the Freeway. I need more brightness, and maybe it's this, I don't know. But I'm feeling I'm lacking some top end. Now, explaining the Freeway might take some time because it is, let's say, feature-packed and highly tweakable. We could also say complicated and downright scary, because when I first saw it, I thought, all right, how am I supposed to tweak all that and find something I like and then not get lost? But after a few minutes of playing with it, I did fly around it. So it makes absolute sense. I'm going to help you out right now. Let's start with these knobs here, which is essentially the preamp and reverb. We've got gain, treble, middle, and bass, which you'd find on pretty much any amp. Then we've got a master volume called the out volume. Then we've got a selectable reverb. There are 8 reverbs, and this is a clicky knob just there. And then the mix is the mix of the reverb. Then we've got an effects send, which is mono out, but stereo in, although it can do mono. Then we've got a preamp send and a preamp return, because even though there is a preamp in the Freeway, you can select to use your own. So you can think of it, if you have an external preamp, then you can think of it as a 2-channel amp. So that's your channel 1, and then external preamp, channel 2, which is foot switchable. Speaking of foot switches, you can also switch on or off the effects loop with this one, and then you can switch on or off the reverb with that one. How are you doing so far? See, not as scary, right? Let's have a little pause, breathe, and let's go back to it for the outputs and the dip switches. The Freeway has 5 analog outs. We've got stereo XLR, stereo unbalanced jacks, and stereo headphones. The out volume controls the volume for all of these. So if you want to turn the headphones up, you're also going to turn up the XLR that I've got plugged in here. Then, on this side, we've got USB, which is USB-C, and that is an audio interface. And that's how I'm recording all the guitar signals for this video. It's going into my MacBook Air just there, into Logic. I am monitoring it through that Fender FR12. So I'm monitoring it in mono, but you're hearing it in stereo. And occasionally, I am checking things out with these headphones that are plugged in just there. Okay, buckle up. These red things with white switches on them are the dip switches, which you normally find on the inside of a pedal. And I normally complain that they're on the inside of the pedal, and Thermion have listened and put the dip switches on the outside. So these are more set and forget controls. Doesn't mean that you can't switch them during a gig or a recording session, but they're not the sort of thing that you'd be switching like you would the reverb on or off, or the effects loop on or off, or the preamp on and off. Let's deal with the smallest one first, get that out of the way. This is clean and crunch, and I'm going to use a pick to change it over because my fingers are big. So I can do it with my finger, but it isn't the best way for me. Then we've got dark and bright. So think of it as a bright switch on an amp, and so far I've got better results from having it on bright. 1 down, 3 to go. Dip switches, when in the up position, are turned on, and when in the down position, they're turned off. Now, these are the ones for the left out, and these are the ones for the right out. So these are mirrored, they do the same thing. And what they do is explained by this little table here. So number one is the cab selection. So we've got 4x12 I'm on at the moment, and I could switch the right channel to, and that one as well, switch the right channel to 1x12 or switch both. So you don't have to have the same cab on both sides, and that goes for all of these dip switch settings. Number 2 is the microphone selection. So we've got SM57, but down would be E906, and then we've got the speaker selection. So I've got it selected to G12, but down would be V30, so vintage V30, which is what I normally listen through in here. And then we've got on and off, we've got the axis. So oddly, the on position for the dip switch is the off-axis position for the microphone, meaning it's not pointed straight at the speaker, it's on an angle. And if you turn the dip switch off, it's on-axis. That's backwards. That should be around the other way, I think. So pointing directly at the speaker. I would have had that round the other way. Anyway, that's those 2 down. We've got 1 left. According to the table, number 1 is the XLR ground lift. Now, I'm connected to the computer via USB and also to the Fender speaker. And if I turn that ground lift off, you get a hum. And that's because we're grounding in 2 different places. So I need that on. Number 2 is DAW mode, and this turns all the analog outputs off while still keeping the USB output on. So you don't hear your live guitar, but you can still record into your DAW, into your computer. I've got it turned off because I want to hear what's going on, again, through that Fender speaker or the headphones. And finally, we've got SPUC bypass, or speaker bypass, and turning that on will turn off the speaker emulation on the outputs, allowing you to use some external speaker emulator, like the aux stomp or some sort of IR loader. So Thermion are saying the Freeway is the ultimate analog interface amplifier, and it's getting pretty close, but there's a few things it does that I haven't mentioned yet. It can also connect to a phone, Android and iOS, and I have connected it to my iPhone, which is there, and you can either record to it, so things like GarageBand or Cubasis, or you can play backing tracks through the phone, which will then go through the Freeway and into one of or all of your outputs, but it'll go through unaffected. Actually, as I have my phone, I've got the PDF manual here, and there's a whole section dedicated to different ways to connect the Freeway. And I would recommend you do take a look at the manual, which you can get from Thermion's website, if you're thinking about buying this, I don't want to call it a pedal, analog interface amplifier. Yes, got it. So, maybe that's why they called it the Freeway. I get it, because there's loads of different lanes and channels. Oh, Thermion, that's good. Oh, that's very good. Well done. Anyway, in the manual, it says you can connect it to various different FR speakers and headphones and PA speakers, even to an amp, you know, if you want to come out of the FX send and just use the preamp of this and the reverbs. Hang on, would the reverbs go through that? No, probably not. But you could go out of the out and turn the speaker emulation and everything off and the preamp off. Anyway, there's a whole different... You figure that out. What I want to say is that you can go from an amp, a tube amp, out of the effects send of that tube amp, into here, what does it say? And then use the modeling of this to record. But one thing this is not is a load box. So make sure that you consult the manual for the connections before you go blowing anything up. I know you, and I would do the same. I think one thing I haven't spent enough time with is the reverbs. So let's go through all the reverbs, starting from number 1 through to number 8. I'll put the mix at around 50% for everything, so you can really hear it coming through. But let's just try it at 100%. What happens? Yeah, so let's take that down to a much more respectable 50%. I have nothing in the effects loop, so I'm going to turn that off. And I'll run from 1 through to 8, yes. Come on. Did I just change the there? I think I did. Sorry. That's huge. Okay. Reverse. Number 8. Yeah, so a lot of reverbs going on. 8. That's more than well, I'll talk about that in a second. Let's review this, and I'll let you know whether I think you should buy it or not, because there's some stuff that I love and some stuff that I think is also not so good. I'll just jump in here to interrupt myself and tell you about the giveaway I'm doing at 100,000 subscribers. When I announced this giveaway only a few days ago, I was only at 90,000, and my plan was to reveal one prize every 1,000 subs, and then I gained 5,000 subs like that. So I'm going to reveal 5 prizes right now. The first one is from Pedal Train, and this is any board of your choosing. Not just the board, but also the case or the soft bag or any of those touring things. You choose it, Pedal Train will give it to you. The second one is one of my favorite overdrives ever. It's the 45 caliber from J Rocket. That could be won by you. Prize number 3 is an amp. It's the Blackstar Debut 50 Reverb, which I reviewed this year, and it is absolutely brilliant. Prize number 4 is the Crazy Tube Circuits Sidekick Junior. It's got delay, it's got reverb, it's got modulation. It is the 80s in a box. And the last prize that I get to reveal today is number 5. It's the Ibanez AZES 31, 31 being my lucky number. And if you want to win one of those prizes or one of the ones that haven't been announced yet, including some unreleased products, then all you have to do is find the link in the video description. It is in there, I've just hidden it amongst a load of other stuff. Go there, click that, and enter the giveaway. And don't forget to subscribe, because the quicker I get to 100,000, the quicker I can give away these wonderful prizes. Right, back to the Freeway. I think the Freeway is the perfect amp simulator for people who love to tweak. Let's tweak, not twerk. And I mean like tone nerds, but then tone nerds might be using a tube amplifier. Okay, so tone nerds that need something that does what this does. There are other amps and other devices that do similar things on the market, but the Freeway is probably the one with the most connections and the most applications. And again, I refer you to look at the manual I'll link to in the video description, because there are so many ways to connect the Freeway that it almost seems stupid not to have one. But, as I said, there's some stuff that I don't like. And number 1 is the crunch channel is not great. So if you want crunch, you're going to have to use an external preamp pedal. The crunch is there. It's great for fuzz. I love it, but it's not great for crunchy. However, if I wanted clean, dynamic sounds with beautiful reverb, the Freeway would be very near, if not at the top of my list. And if I wanted high gain and rock and I had some external pedals, it does it well as well. It's phenomenal with that G3 from Rev and the noise gate. The noise gate was integral there, but it would be with any amp. Let's talk about the reverbs. I think one thing it's missing is a spring-style reverb. So all these reverbs in here, they seem big and beautiful and nice for clean sounds. But when I was using rock and the high, well, I didn't have one on for the high gain, but I felt that I was missing some of the smaller reverbs. And that might be down to me not adjusting the mix properly, but I would have loved to have seen a simple spring reverb in there. I don't know why there isn't one in there. I'm thinking maybe because they came up with one and they didn't like it. So it's better to not have a spring reverb than to have a crap one, because all the reverbs in there are great. And I really love the reverse and the gated. That's a nice addition. But I'm not sure we need so many reverbs. I could have done with maybe 4 of those, and then I'd love a spring reverb. Which leads me on to my next point. When changing the reverbs, I hit the mid frequency, and I was kind of doing that a lot during this video, and I'm getting it now, and these knobs are the perfect shape to not, but if you can see, my fingers are very sausagey and big, but I think you have to be a small child to be able to turn these knobs without at least touching one of the others. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all. And I get that you need the design of the pedal, but there's space in this box to widen that out just a little bit more. And I would have liked to have seen the ability to get my finger in there. And the same goes for the dip switches. Great idea with dip switches, but almost certainly a set and forget, because turning them on and off, I kind of almost definitely need a pick, especially the 4-way ones. And I'm going to stay with the negative points because there's a few, but they're not big ones. The next one that I don't like is that you don't have a separate volume for the headphones. I could see a situation in which you would need, if you were using backing tracks or something and then sending the DI out to a mixing desk, an independent headphone volume would have been great. Again, fixable with a headphone amplifier. My final negative point is the USB. I love that it's there, and I've used it in this video. Everything you've heard has been through that USB, but that audio interface is only 2-channel and it's stereo wet, meaning that everything you record out of there is going to be affected by the settings you have on the Freeway. It would have been great to have 4-channel USB audio, so you could have stereo wet and stereo dry for reamping later. I don't know the technical implications or the cost of what that change would be, but that would be some real icing on the cake. But most of those can be forgiven due to the power and versatility of this, and the price, which is €375 or thereabouts. Now, that is not a small amount of money. This is not a budget product, and hopefully through the duration of this video, you will have realized that, or come to agree that this is not something that should cost a small amount of money. The Freeway solves a lot of connection problems. And this is a preamp, it is an audio interface, it is a whole thing that you can take to a gig and play backing tracks through and control the sounds of your guitars. This could replace at least 3 pedals and an audio interface and some DI boxes. So if you think of the price like that and consider the reverbs and that clean preamp would probably cost you €300 at least anyway to get that in a different pedal, this has all those other bells and whistles at €75 more. I think it's a good buy. I'll even go as far as saying this is analog amp simulation at its finest. Every guitar I've thrown at it has sounded fantastic. Every pedal sounds fantastic. The bottom line of my review is, if you need to get a great guitar signal to a PA system or to an audio interface or direct to your computer using an inbuilt audio interface, and you have a bunch of preamp or gain pedals for your own preferred drive and some reverbs if you don't like the big reverbs, then the Freeway should absolutely be near the top of your list to check out. As long as you're willing to put in a bit of work to figure out what the dip switches do, and I hope my video has helped you understand that. So that's it, and if you want to enter my 100,000 subs giveaway, there is a link in the video description. Go and check that out. Otherwise, there's a subscribe button right there. Smash that or tickle it, and that will subscribe you to the channel. And there are links in the video description to the Thermion Freeway if you want to purchase and or find more information on it. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!